Welcome to today's video. Now that I've designed, built, camped, used, and even sold the first version of the Maverick truck camper, I've come up with a list of bullet points that I would like to address or adjust on the second version of the Maverick truck camper. So in this video, I'm just going to go through each bullet point and talk about what I would do differently. So, starting right off with the first point, I wrote down I want thicker walls in certain areas. So I would like a 3/4 inch floor and maybe 5/8. The bench seats need to be 5/8 inch. 1/2 inch for the front wall that supports the overhang. And then still keep the same 3/8 inch for all the walls and the roof, just to keep down on the weight. And then on the last one I had a 3-inch slope on the roof, and now I would like a 4-inch slope on the roof, just to make it a little more aerodynamic and easier for water to run off. This second point is kind of a cool addition. I was thinking that for the bed, for the third person down below, could also be a cornhole board. I basically just have to punch a 6-inch hole into the board, add some legs, and now I've got a double use for that piece of wood that can be used for cornhole toss. And I think that would be a fun addition. And then I also want to lower the sidewall 2x2s for extra structure support for that third person bed down below. And then I also need to consider where the fridge door will be opening, because it would be nice to be able to open that fridge door when that third person bed is made. So I'll have to keep that in mind, but that might not be an option. Okay, point number 3 is I'm not gonna add a bed extension to the top 2 beds on the overhang. I had it on the first one, but we didn't really need the extra space up there. So instead, I'm just going to have a front guard wall, maybe 6 inches, to keep the bedding and other items in during travel, and to kind of help that person closest to the edge won't roll out of bed. And the goal with the 2 beds up top and the third one down below is to be able to make them as quickly as possible. Anytime there's a transition during camping, it's nice to make everything seamless, fast, and quick, so you're not spending all your time messing around with configurations. Okay, the fourth one, I would like to increase the upper bunk headroom and lower the bench seat height. Now that I have the Maverick, I can take more specific measurements for the camper, and what I'm hoping is that not by increasing the ceiling height, but by lowering the floor height for the overhang. And even if I can get 1 to 3 inches extra from the first version, that'll help increase the headroom up there. It was just fine in the first version, but no one's going to complain about extra headroom. And then also too, the seat height was too tall. Now I'm also trying to maximize every sheet of plywood that I have, and so doing that, I am forced to sacrifice a few other things. But on this next one, I definitely am going to lower the seat height at least 2 inches, so it'll be easier to sit down and not have your feet dangle in the air. But I'll also have some steps that in this next one that your feet can rest on, and that'll make it nicer. Okay, the fifth one, this one was definitely noticeable. I need more interior light. I only had 1 window in the first version, and this time I'm gonna have 2 windows on both sides, and I'm gonna make them myself from plexiglass. Not sure if I'm gonna have the ability for them to open or not. I do have some ideas of what I could do there, but then I also do want to have like a sky hatch where in the middle of the roof above the overhang, you can pop that open and you can see the stars at night when you're going to bed, or just have it for ventilation itself, because the sky hatch I would also make myself, and you wouldn't be able to see through it, but you could open it to get fresh air with like a screen possibly, or just be able to poke your head up and look around or look at the stars. But the main point is there needs to be more interior lighting, because I found myself turning the lights on during the day just to see what I was doing inside. And I think there should be more lighting inside, just to have more natural lighting inside. Also, I'm going to add a third window I almost forgot. I'm also going to add a third window that looks into the truck cab. So just a small window kind of down by your knees, just to let in extra light and be able to see out the front there. Okay, number 6, also going along with lowering the bench seat height, I wrote down that I want to make sure the full 4 feet from the bench seat is used for that sidewall, because I think on this last one it was like 46 inches from the bench seat up to the roof, and instead I want to lower the bench seat by 2 inches and have the full 48 inches on that sidewall to the roof. Hopefully that makes sense. It's just important to maximize the full sheet of every single plywood. Okay, number 8. On the first version, I used flexible solar panels, and the problem with that is that it caused the roof to heat up excessively. I also built my own electrical system with a lithium iron phosphate battery, a 2000 watt inverter, and a solar charge controller from Victron. And I'm gonna go away with all of that, and this time I'm gonna go with rigid solar panels so air can freely pass underneath, making the solar panels more effective, and it's just safer that way. It's important for that airflow to pass underneath the solar panels. And then I'm just gonna go with a power station because I have multiple power stations already, and they're just so much simpler. There's less wiring, and they're not as heavy as it would be for me to build my own system, and not as time taking. There's a lot of benefits to using a portable power station in an off-grid setup like this. Also, not to mention, with a portable power station, I can store the power station indoors when I'm not using it. One thing I was worried about with the camper last year is that with the system, it's all built in, so it's prone to harsh temperatures of over 100-degree days and freezing cold temperatures. So that's a huge benefit with the power station, is I can just take it with me when I go, plug it all in, and then when I get back, just take it into the house, and it can be stored in room temperature and help preserve the battery life of the power station. And then this one, number 8, is a storage solution. So where I have the 5-gallon water jug mounted, which for this version 2, I'm gonna bump that up to a 7-gallon water jug just for extra water. Underneath that, I'm gonna store my silverware tray, and underneath that, I'll have a built-in slot for the electric skillet to fit in as well. And that will make a nice place for those items to store and be out of the way, and also ready to use when you need them. Another big point, number 9, I want to lower the kitchen countertop height. I don't quite remember. If you look back in one of my other videos, I went through and measured all the measurements in the camper. And I want to say the kitchen countertop in the first version was around 42 or 43 inches tall from the ground. And that's pretty tall. I think standard countertop heights are about 36 inches, and so I do want to lower the kitchen countertop for the next one, because that will definitely make a difference, and it will allow for extra storage above the countertop as well. Number 10 is on the very front of the truck camper. So in the first version, at the very front on the overhang of the camper, I went up with the wood about 6 inches straight up, and then I did an angle, and then I did the rest of the angle for the roof with the 3-inch slope that I was talking about earlier. This time, I just want to do the 4-inch roof slope, and then one piece going straight down to meet the front. I know that will reduce a little bit of the space inside, but for building, it's one less angle that I have to worry about. And I also believe that it will help a little bit more with the aerodynamics, just having one straight piece up and then have the rest of the roof. And then number 11, in the front, in the overhang, I want to extend the storage shelves all the way to the front and consider lowering them maybe 1/2 inch or 1 inch and potentially making them a little bit wider. The only thing that's important is that the 2 guys who are sleeping up there, that if they get up, that they don't bonk their head on the shelves. That's the only thing that really matters up there. But having those shelves larger as much as possible without ruining comfortability is what I would like to do. And then number 12, I wrote down increase the interior width for sleeping from 76 inches to 78 inches. So 2 extra inches. That would be to 6.5 feet long. And that's how much sleeping space there is. And for the first version at 76 inches, I mean, it wasn't bad. Like, no one complained how much space there was for sleeping. In fact, some of my friends are taller than me and they didn't complain about it. But I don't know. So this is one that I'm still thinking on about adding 2 extra inches because it does go a long way. But yeah, I'll be thinking about that one. And number 13, just a storage solution. I was thinking about mounting the outdoor folding table that I have, and mount it on the ceilings so it's out of the way when we're driving back and forth. Number 14, I wrote down use a 2x3 instead of the modified 2x2s that I use. So for the roof, there's 2 sheets of plywood that have to connect in the middle. And for the first version, I used one of my, they're smaller than just smaller than a 2x2. I take a 2x3, cut it in half, and then I've got 2 boards that are strong enough and lightweight. It takes down some of the wood. And so I used one of those for joining those 2 pieces together. But on this next version, I definitely feel it's important to use a wider board, like a 2x3, to connect those 2 sheets of plywood together for the roof. It'll just add more strength and stability, and I think it's totally worth it. And that also being said, the 4 anchor tie-down points in the corners, just under the bench seat on the outside, I used those same split 2x3 boards to anchor those. And just for extra strength, I want to use a 2x3. Number 15 is about the door. So for the actual door handle, I noticed that I need to use thinner wood boards so the door handle is closer together. It's not so expanded far apart. So I just need to use thinner door blocks so the door handles can fit better. And then also with the door, I want to increase the clearance between the swinging door and I guess what you would call the door jamb, and then also frame it out with wood a little bit better so it seals off light or air gaps coming through the door. And I'll probably add some foam padding around the door just to help seal it better. Yeah, and so lastly, number 16, I wrote down mount a step ladder inside the door for getting into the camper and being useful around camp. So these are the 16 bullet points that I came up with. I had a list up to like 30 or so earlier, but over time I refined it and kind of condensed some of the points to the more critical ones that I really care about. Overall, I was very happy with the first version, and I'm really excited to build the second version as well. The overall shape and form factor of the first version I really liked. I personally really like compact things, and just looking at the camper from a distance, it just looks awesome. It looked minimalistic, modern, and it didn't look like it had anything beyond what someone would need. I just really liked the shape and form factor of it. I also did several 45-degree angle cuts on the inside for visibility and aesthetics on the inside, and I thought that turned out really good. And then for the colors that I chose, the bottom and the door deck paint gray, and then with the outsides and the roof being a white semi-gloss. And then to give it a little flair, I did some stripes with spray paint with the color winter gray. Yeah, I thought that all turned out really well. Gave it some pretty cool colors that I liked. And I'll probably do something similar for the second version. So anyways, that's it for this video. That's the whole list of modifications or upgrades that I would do or do differently on the second version of the Maverick Camper. If you have any questions or suggestions on what I should do, please leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.